Welcome to this Product Center Nexa video, where you will learn how to search for items, processes and activities in the PLM system and how to save your searches for reuse. Let's open the Queries tool from the top bar menu. The search criteria are displayed in the top left area, while the results will be displayed in the bottom left area. We also have additional functionalities in this query toolbar right below the top bar menu. As you can see here, I have selected Item Query, which means that I am looking either for a file, for a project, for a BOM part or for a folder. We will see how to search for processes and activities later in this video. Let's start from the search criteria. To look for an item, I can specify at least one item's attribute, and Nexa will display all items matching the attribute I specified. For example, if I'm looking for an engineering project whose description begins with Use New, I simply select Common Attributes, the attribute description, together with the condition begins with, and I type Use New. I then click Run in the query toolbar and the matching results appear at the bottom. In this case, only one item corresponds to the search criterion. Clicking on the item, its details are displayed on the right-hand side. If this is the engineering project that I was looking for, I can perform PLM actions directly from here. With the right click, I can access a rich context menu that allows me, for example, to check out the item or perform release management actions, add it to my desktop, and so on. And pinning the item allows you to quickly retrieve it later if needed. I could even use multiple search criteria at the same time. For example, I will now look for all items that have been modified in January 2021. I select Modified On as attribute and the condition Between. This allows me to select a starting date and an end date. I can then add a second criteria to filter on items whose title attribute contains the word color. If I want the search to be case sensitive, I can flag this option here. This other option says Match All. This means that once it is flagged, the search results will display only those items that match all the criteria I specified. In other words, once flagged, the search criteria are logically connected with an AND. While if I unflag it, all items who match at least one search criteria will be displayed. In other words, the search criteria are logically connected with an OR. The search condition automatically changes according to the attribute you are filtering on. For example, when I selected Modified On, the condition became a date condition: before, after, between, in the past week or month, and so on. If I select Last User or Preparer, for example, the condition becomes a user condition. For example, One Of allows me to select as many users as I want. All items prepared by any of the selected users will appear in the search results. As you noticed, the search value too automatically changes accordingly to the search attribute and condition that you select. The search conditions are very intuitive. For example, Begins With allows you to type the first letters of the user, and so on. On top of that, when specifying a value, Nexa is able to filter the possible matching values on the fly. For example, if I select File Type as attribute and I type WOR, Nexa shows me the only possible file type values that could match my search. In this case, SOLIDWORKS components and Word documents. If you need more search criteria, you can add them with this plus icon. Also, if you want the search criteria to be hidden and leave more space for the search results, you can simply unpin the search criteria area. Once you click Run, it will be hidden. In case you have doubts on any of the buttons or icons, with the mouse over, a message will be displayed to briefly explain how it works. The search criteria editor can also be hidden or displayed on demand using this editor button. Wildcards can also be used. A % stands for multiple characters. For example, I could search for all items whose title contains the string blades, followed by an undefined number of characters, and then by 15. On top of that, I could use the logical symbol OR. By default, the OR sign is the vertical bar or the pipe sign, but it can be easily changed to adapt to your company. For example, I could search for all items whose title contains either the string blades or the string electro. Here's a more advanced use of the OR symbol. When combined to the Match All function, the OR sign allows you to perform complex searches. This search, for example, will display all items that match the criteria be a bielectrical component and contain either blades or electro in the title. While if I switch off the function matchAll, the search becomes be a bioelectrical component or contain blades and electro in the title. This allows you to perform all sorts of complex searches through your Nexa database. If I want to save my search criteria for reuse, I can easily do that by clicking Save and assigning a name to my search criteria. For example, this saved search will allow us to look for the latest release versions of items. To load an existing saved search, I just have to select Choose Saved Query. Once loaded, you could run it as is, or you could even modify it and adapt it to your needs. Adding a search criteria, for example, that filters for all Excel files with sales in the title, will return only the latest release versions of this type of files that match the title search criteria. Let's now explore the form column more in details. The default value is common attributes, which are attributes that are common to all items, such as name, prepared on, and class. On top of that, you might have defined custom attributes that are specific for a given class. For example, if I select the class function in the top bar menu and I browse to the class ECO2 authorities, and I open a change item, its form will contain both common attributes and custom attributes, such as authorities, go-no-go, MCAD designer, and so on. To search for the custom attributes of this particular class of items, I must select its form in the search panel. The names that are listed here are the names of the forms that each class is associated to. Once I select the form, its custom and common attributes are displayed here under the attribute column. For example, I could search for a specific change item that has a given mechanical CAD designer assigned to the design phase. While I'm selecting the search criteria, Nexa retrieves the list of users belonging to the MCAD group and allows me to pick those that I want to be included in the search. Finally, let's search for processes and activities. Processes are automated workflows that help your company meet quality and time requirements and that streamline the collaboration between all workers. For example, let's search for all processes that started after the 1st of September of last year and that are still active. I got 4 results. For each of them, I can see a list of process attributes organized in columns, and I can see more details on the right-hand side of the screen, where I could even explore the items linked to the process I selected or the where used information, for example. With a right click, I have access to a list of PLM actions. I will visualize the process of this particular item. This is an ECO process that coordinates the efforts of several departments toward an express engineering change order. Each of these building blocks is called an activity. A process is then made of activities linked to each other. To better understand how searches work for processes, let's notice that at some given point in time, there will be activities that have already been assigned, while others will still be waiting to be reached by the process. For example, in this case, the activity called Procurement Review has already been assigned to Ines Dubois, who delivered it already, while the go-no-go decision is still in progress and the electric design activity has not been reached yet. When searching for processes, it is possible to add search criteria that specify attributes of the activities contained in these processes, but only of those activities that have already been assigned. Let's go back to the search panel and see this in action. We could add a search criteria that specifies the properties of the activities that the process contains. For example, I can search for processes that contain an activity whose name starts with procurement or an activity assigned to Ines Dubois. As expected, this restricts the previous list of processes. On the other hand, if I search for processes which contain an activity named electric design, the previous ECO process is not in the results list anymore, because that activity hasn't been started yet for that process. Only activities that have already started can be used to filter for processes. Analogously, I can search for many other process attributes, such as the process start and finish date or its instance name. And I could also filter for many activity attributes, such as the activity state, that is, if the process contains unclaimed activities or suspended activities and so on. I can look for processes that contain activities assigned to a given user or activities whose comment contains a given word, for example. Finally, it's also possible to directly search for activities. Once I select Activity Query, I have access to the same process and activity attributes as before. But in this case, the result list will contain specific activities and not processes. So if I look for activities that have been assigned to either Ines Dubois or Simon Knight, the result list will contain all the activities that match the search criteria. Notice that the columns in the result list now display information of the activities, such as the activity state, who it has been assigned to, the expected completion date of the activity, or the comments left by the user on top of the name of the process they belong to. This concludes our overview of the search functionality in Product Center Nexa. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss all the upcoming Nexa video with new tutorials and feature updates. Thanks for watching.